Welcome to The Spotlight, the show that brings you voices of those who truly feed our nation, our small-scale farmers. Whether you're a farmer, a consumer, or just someone who cares about where your food comes from, this show is for you. This is The Spotlight, where small-scale farmers lead the discussion towards a just and resilient food system.
Hello, our listeners and viewers. Welcome to today's episode on The Spotlight. Stella Rosa Kutu is my name, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Most times, women land rights, especially those of the small-scale farmers, are not secure. But today, we want to delve into a conversation where we're going to talk about how strengthening the land rights of small-scale farmers will boost their tenure security, but as well as food security, but also how that is going to help us to realize the goals of the National Development Plan 4 and also the Vision 2040. Today, I host two distinguished guests that I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Hi, good morning. My name's Dennis Obo from the Ministry of Land, South Uganda Urban Development. I'm the spokesperson of the ministry, and I'm very glad to be here with you. Thank you.
Very welcome, Mr. Obo. Thank you for coming for this spotlight. I also come to you, the lady.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Nawami Christine. I'm a small-scale farmer and a farmer leader, a community paralegal by training, and the chairperson of SFBTiana.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation and for coming today to discuss this very important topic. So I want to start with Mr. Obo. You rightly mentioned that you're the spokesperson from the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. I want you to try to paint a picture for us, to try to understand what is the ministry's mandate when we talk about issues of land registration, tenure security for women, especially the small-scale farmers. What is the ministry's mandate?
Thank you. The Ministry of Lands has a very big mandate in this country to register land, to manage land, and to administer land. In the Constitution, land belongs to the citizens of Uganda, but it is held under 4 tenure systems. And it is under those tenure systems that the ministry is mandated to provide procedures and processes for how to register land for landowners, those that are vulnerable, and those that need assistance. So we do play a bigger role, and we have decentralized the role to 22 zonal offices. And based on that, we do partner with a number of civil society organizations because the ministry cannot be everywhere. So we partner and they bridge that gap so that we are able to provide service delivery to men and women, vulnerable groups, specifically for CSOs. We really prefer issues where inequality and inequities in land and land justice can be addressed. So we try to bridge the gap to make sure that we bring up the percentage of registration of land from the current 25%, at least in the next few years, to 50%. But we are also looking at making sure that in it, we have at least 50% of women as landowners and also as tenants registered. Because remember, when you look at one of our tenure systems, the Milo tenure system, the majority of the persons who are on it are tenants by occupants, and these tenants are mostly women. Protecting their rights and interests is important because then you are able to sustain the continuity of their productivity on the land that they occupy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obo. So I just have a bit of a follow-up question. We realize that in Uganda, women produce 70 to 80% of the food that we eat in our communities, in our homes, and the country at large. But only a small portion actually hold documented land rights. And in fact, you've rightly said that from right now, it's about 25% of land documentation that is being owned that people have owned, that have been registered. But I want you to give up a very specific picture for us. From the 20%, how many do you think the women contribute to? For example, you've said 25. how much of the 25% is documentation by women?
Actually, government is concerned about the issue of documentation. If you look at our entire population, 51% of the population are women and 49 are men. But when it comes to landowners, the biggest percentage are men. The women are nowhere. You have like 20%, and yet from the general picture, they are 50%. These are some of the concerns that economists have brought up and want to resolve. Because if you have 50% of a population, 70% of that population are the ones that are carrying out the agriculture, but they have limited access or ownership to land, then you know that economy is in trouble and those gaps need to be closed. The best way to close those gaps is to issue legal documentation targeting specific categories of persons, and in this case, if you are looking at equality, it is the women, assistance to the girl child, the female youth, even the female disabled persons also require that help. So it is that category that government seeks to look at to make sure that it can bring up the numbers in the category of those that are registered, to be able to protect the work that they do on the land, to be able to protect and encourage them to take decisions on the agriculture, what to grow, when to grow, where to purchase seeds, and even where to sell and where to bank their money. So it's a whole chain of empowerment that government is looking at, through beginning with registration of land of all categories of women in this country.
Thank you very much for really painting up that picture for us. So just before I get to Christine, who is also representing the small-scale farmers who are female in this podcast today, you talked about the ministry's mandate, and you talked about it has a bigger mandate of documentation, streamlining the processes and the procedures that exist on land registration. So I want you also to try to paint a picture for us about the National Development Plan 4. I'm very aware that the plan is already in force. It is already running. So what are some of those national priorities that were included into the National Development Plan that contribute directly to the attainment of women land rights, and especially when it comes to registration of land?
Now, the NDP IV, in simple terms, looks at transiting persons in Uganda from the subsistence economies that the majority are in to a socio-economic, market-driven economy where we use our land productivity, where we know who owns what land, so that nobody is evicted, nobody's properties are destroyed, and that we are all in to benefit from our work. So specifically for NDP IV, the land component looks at real evidence-based interventions that it wants to do. The Constitution has provided the guidance that citizens own the land and they must own it in the 4-tenure system. So it now becomes critical that whoever is using land must have ownership documents. Whoever has an occupancy recognized in the Constitution also must have legal documentation. We know very well that it's the women under the Milo tenure system who make up the biggest number of occupants, and the Constitution has protected them. So in implementation, most of the 90% of the women must have the certificates of occupancy, because that is what guarantees they are staying on the land, working on the land productivity without any disturbance, without any eviction, without any destroying of the properties. Without the legal documentation for them, then their productivity is affected. So our first target is to target areas where Milo is, move to the people. The landowners are not the Milo owners. The law provides that they must pay Busulu, and indeed through interventions we have had in Mityana and Gomba with partners, SF inclusive, we have taught women how to use simple apps to be able to to implement what the law says. Pay your busuru, pay your annual nominal ground rent if you are not to be evicted. Where the landlord is not seen, use this app, enter the details, pay and get a receipt, because it's only for lack of a receipt that you shall be evicted from your occupancy. So these are the small things that are going to protect the women who work on the tenures, on the Milo tenure, and that who have occupancies. So we hope that thereafter they can be empowered to take decisions, even to move from just growing simple seasonal vegetable crops to growing coffee and other cocoa and other cash crops, where they can earn from more money other than just depending on these small seasonal crops, because now they have tenure, the security of tenure, and no one can ever come to destroy or evict them from their lands.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bo. That was very, very extensive. So I want to take an opportunity to bring Christine on board. You are a female small-scale farmer from Mityana district, and you have a story to tell. And there are a lot of experiences that women like you actually have on how they are struggling to realize their tenure security, but also to be able to utilize their land productively. So I want you to paint for us a picture. You've used the land in your community, you've produced food that feeds the community and even your home. And your voice is very important in this conversation. We are talking about registration of land, we are talking about women having land documented in their own names. So I want you to share with us, do you have an experience where you have you've tried, or you may have supported a female small-scale farmer in your community to be able to get registered, to register their land? Could you share with us an experience? What are some of those challenges that women encounter when it comes to registration of land? Now that the ministry has elaborately told us about the mandate, and it's also a very important aspect in the National Development Plan.
Thank you so much. Yeah, true. I'm a small-scale farmer, a female small-scale farmer, and I've participated in trainings which qualified me to be a community paralegal, putting me in that space of helping out females or female farmers in trying to solve land issues. So the barriers that we found as females, that in the first place, we have the patriarchal norms. These patriarchal norms mandate inheritance and the passing on of land and property to male. And yet in homes, we have the male and the female. So they take us as, we are not counted as part of the assets that are owned in the lineage system of families. So in this process of inheritance and taking ownership of our land, females are not counted. So our challenge has been that when you take your claim, you're not counted part of, you come primary. You come secondary, you're not primary to the discussion. So as they try, even the reference is not so direct to females. Reference is direct to male family members. So you come last in a way that you just benefit from the land, but you don't benefit from owning the land. So our challenge has been, you're always under someone. You're always under authority of a male person. So here, when we make arguments, though you've done a lot of production or a lot of work on the land, you still have to refer or to consult to a male. And this is affecting us. So when we go for service, you're first asked to come with that person who is in direct ownership of the land. You never come as a direct owner. And the other one has been that we don't make direct decisions. As a continuation to the other challenge, we don't make direct decisions. Your decision has to be referred to the other person in the first place who guaranteed you to use the land. Secondly, who is permitting you to either continuously use, do production, and which kind of production are you doing? If it is for these long-term investments, then it goes the hard way. If it is for these small productions, you could be safe somehow, but still you need the reference of the mandate of some person behind you. And the marital status issues. If you're still in marriage, or if you're still under, or in the household, under family, you're given chance to utilize land. When you go out of the family, or when it comes to a higher decision making, then you're counted out. So when you're still in your home, you're still counted on the half of the ownership. When you come out of your home, you're never part of it. So, and this suffers so much that when we go to seek services, you're asked, are you legally married? If you're not, then no more steps for you. If you try to claim, we always claim that we've done these things together, we have worked hard to say that we achieve this, but still the issue is what ties you together to be part of this. And most of the titling, we come as witnesses, yet we are advocating to come as co-owners. And the titling has to clearly show that we are owning this like as spouses. But the titling is not mentioning us. So that also puts us off. In service, when you go to seek for service, they're like, but you just witnessed on this. So as community paralegals, we come in to advocate for how is it or how can it be? What are the procedures, the strategies that we can use to see that we, the female beneficiaries, can be part of the titling? There are even these conflicts between the legal systems, whereby the national laws are sidelining women, and it is connected to the traditional norms that are in place. Because traditionally, women, we don't share. It is today that we are coming up to raise our voices, that we need to share and own. Because if we don't own, everything is a disaster. So the national laws are sidelining women ownership, and these land tenure systems are not counting women to be part of the system, the land system. So all the time, as a woman, your voice comes last, even if it is an important submission, but it is counted last. Then the illiteracy, women are illiterate. We are always in the background. We are doing domestic work. We are doing parental work, the feeding, and all the house chores. So by the time we get to understand what is going on, or the trending information, it is already too late for us. Things that are expected to be known by the community, they are not known by women. So in this whole issue, we are left back because we are always in the background doing community work.
And maybe just if I could come in a little bit, you've highlighted some of the challenges that you small-scale farmers who are women are actually facing. You've highlighted issues to do with illiteracy. Women do not know their rights, first of all. That is like the bare minimum. But also when it comes to issues to do with the processes of land registration. So I wanted you to share if there is any experience that you have of maybe a time when you tried to register your land or to seek a land service at either your community, at the district level, and what are those challenges that you encountered along the service delivery?
First of all, reaching the real service, the real person who has to offer you the service. You enter offices, and before you reach the right person, you've undergone through many, should I call them brokers?
Brokers,
Yeah,
yes.
brokers. Because these brokers are everywhere. They are the first people before you reach the real person. So these people can keep tossing you around, tossing you around. By the time you reach the actual person, you've already spent a lot, you've already wasted a lot of time not getting any help. So if there is any way they can remove these people who are broking our land in those offices, in this office of service delivery, it could benefit us women. Secondly, when you reach those people, the way you interact is not the way a male person interacts. We come in a fearful way, we come in a very honest way, and we come in a very obedient way. But the more we become obedient, the more we are like they step on our demands. Yet the men come aggressive. When we come aggressive, they are like, this is another woman. Yet you've come to fight for your right. So the way we are seen, the way they look at us when we go to those offices is not the same way they look at the male counterparts. And the third thing is the lengthy process. They can mean to tell you a lot of stages you have to undergo. And these stages intend to look so big, so wide, and time consuming, most of it all money. Every stage you reach at, money is the first issue. Negotiation, money is the first issue. Listening to you, you have to corrupt someone. Yet we come expecting that these people who hold offices, the duty bearers, they should be ready to receive us, to give us the rightful information, and to give us the guidance which we have to use. But all the time they're like, now you see the challenge with you women. We come that we go emotional. Instead of understanding things, we go emotional. When you come with someone to help you, you have to narrate so much. Who is this person? How are you related? How did they come to enter into these issues? Why didn't you come with the right person? Then how are we solving it with this person who is not even part of the problem or part of the system or part of the issue we want to handle? So the service delivery that we seek, or the service delivery that we expect to get the service, is not yet next to the woman. The woman is far away from the service. And more importantly, that we are not known to the laws. So they interpret so many things for you. And you're like, even this existed. Then how is it that they said, now you're not even informed? How did you reach here when you're not informed? So all these are in between our process. And by the time you get to understand the whole thing, you've lost a lot.
Yeah, so I think that one really corresponds with what you said, the literacy rates of women. But I'm also very aware that a lot has happened. A lot of interventions have been put in place by the Ministry of Lands, but also in partnership with other civil society organizations. And there's been a bit of change. There's a lot of progress that has taken place. So I wanted to come to Mr. Bo. Why do you think documenting women's land rights is something very important for Uganda's development priorities under the NDP IV, but also Vision 2040? You've already highlighted that your mandate is really very big. It has women at the heart, but we've also heard from a small-scale farmer that the laws are actually a bit far away from the average woman. People do not know some of these rights. People do not know some of these processes. So what do you make of this? Why is it important to document women land rights in the face of the NDP IV priorities and 2024 vision?
Well, the law is clear that if you do not have legal documentation, you do not have conclusive evidence of ownership. So anybody who doesn't have a certificate, a title, you do not have conclusive evidence. And somebody will wake up, present a title, and you are no longer have any claims to the land that you have been on for 70 years. I acknowledge that yes, there have been challenges, and we have tried to simplify on these challenges to be able to implement the law. It is important to translate forms into local language to help the people who do not understand English. We have also relied on a very old law, the Illiteracy Protection Act of 1918. It is old, but it has helped us a lot, because you need somebody to fill a form for you, to read and make sure that what you have said is what has been written, and they must endorse and sign that they're the ones who have translated for you. Now, the biggest issue there is that most people who have been doing these translations do not write what the owners have said. Exactly. They would record women as the farmer has said, record them not as owners, but as witnesses or as neighbors. And a neighbor cannot be an owner. A witness cannot be an owner. So the issue of translation and writing what you're putting onto documents that are going to later affect your claims and interests is very critical. We have introduced 2 apps to help people at least bridge that gap, so that, because we know every home in this country at least has got a smartphone. Now that smartphone can do very many things for you without getting to the land office. It can check for you to find out who the landlord is, whether you have ever registered the land on which you own, whether somebody else has registered it, the parcel sizes, all these things you can pick from that app. You can even pay busuru, annual nominal ground rate, using technology from your mobile phone and the smartphone. So we have sensitized, we have encouraged partners to sensitize, and indeed, where partners have gone and showed women the steps on using these technologies, it has helped to pay busuru, because the only reason for eviction is non-payment of busuru. So at least we are looking at technology as being very critical in helping us achieve this agenda. Even chasing out the middlemen, if you have to block them off, you would need an app where somebody can put in a block and plot, pay the 10,000 shillings and get an instant result. So that is happening under the UGNLIS. The steps are critical, and any landowner, literate or illiterate, can just follow the simple steps on that app to be able to register and then carry out transactions. But of course, you would need your national identity card. I encourage all women to have national identity cards, because you cannot register any transaction if you do not have a national identity card. You now require a tax identification number, because for any transactions, you're paying money to Revenue Authority. And without a tax identification number, you are not known by revenue. So there are those basic things that citizens, women, now need to have if they are to be at par with the men. The men, most men have these, but it is important that women to get them if they are to get their earnings and use it to buy land and record it in their names. So yes, I agree challenges are many, but we have moved, and slowly by slowly, we have moved the percentage of land ownership of women from 7% in 2002, at least to now 25%. So we are moving slowly but steadily. And I think these are some of the good things that we need to protect as we move towards steadily moving from the subsistence economy, which doesn't recognize legal documentation, to the socio-economic documentation, where now women are going to be engaging with investors, engaging with marketeers, selling their processing goods from the market. All you will need these basic documents. And for us from the ministry, we shall continue moving with partners. We have done this in even as far as Logiri in Arua, and I think War in Zombo. Slowly by slowly, we are moving to make sure that we move to engage customary owners. That's another tenure system. Totally different procedures and totally different set of rules for women and men to own land. But the good thing is that the customary system is very inclusive. It does not leave out anybody, and it is one where we now want to put enforcement, because remember, 80% of customary land is not recorded. So if we can put all our efforts there, capture the 50% and 50% of the women and men in the 80%, we shall have a very good statistics for women registered owners to show at the end of it.
Thank you very much. And also just a follow-up, like you've highly mentioned some of the achievements or some of the steps that the minister has put on board. So I wanted you also to kind of paint for us a picture. These achievements that you have highlighted, are they really contributing to the national development?
Now, in terms of national development, what happens is that if land is registered, the picture I can paint is, look at land before it was registered and the crops grown on it and the decisions taken.
Yeah.
The subsistence economy, it is actually totally different from where one has registered, the decisions taken by the owners, by the women, what crops to grow. No one will grow the crops they have been growing before after they have received legal documentation. They go for crops like coffee, vanilla, cocoa, high cash crops with high value, because they have now that empowerment that their land is now secure. Nobody can evict them. So the best way only to increase their productivity is to grow the high value crops. And indeed, most women I have seen have done this on their bibanja and on their registered pieces of land.
Thank you very much. So as we wind up this session, I want to come back to Christine as well. What difference do you think it will make to you as a person, but also you representing the other small-scale farmers that are not here but are listening to us? What difference do you think it will make if women's land documentation is taken into consideration, both at family level but also at national level? Do you think there will be any difference if every woman had their land registered in their name?
In the first place, we need to reach agreements at a level whereby we are agreed from clan level to family level and to national level. Because we can do all the other processes, but you reach at family level or clan level and you find the challenges there. So if we agreed that okay, it is okay on our family land, we are agreeing we are going to cut out a piece of land for these sisters of ours or for these mothers of ours so that they can own their land to do their own work. Now we shall have the ownership. And when we get that ownership, because we want it under all processes, when we get that ownership, then our hands will be freed to do farming, because we are responsible for feeding homes. We shall do farming which is not limited. We need to do a food sovereign farmer system whereby you can have all that you need on your land. But here we have a scenario whereby you're like, don't do coffee, don't do coke, don't do vanilla like he mentioned. We also need to upgrade to those levels so that we can have economic empowerment in our homes. We need to have money. The bargaining powers will also increase, because now you'll be able to say that on the other piece of land that I own, I'm going to do this kind of investment. On this other piece of land, we shall do this kind of investment. And then maybe you're also somewhere, you can sit in a discussion, you can make decisions because you can now planning together with the family or planning together with your spouse. Your spouse well knowing that you have a level of ownership on the belongings that you have in your home. The social well-being, because here we talk about issues of whereby you have influence, and your influence is also a determinant on the work that you're supposed to do on your land. You have influence on how you're going to either sell out, on how you're going to make your production move, and the industrialization that you talked about. We are not anywhere in that inclusion as long as we don't own land, because we shall count ourselves inclusive. After doing the production that is going to go to the industries, we are cut off at that level. But we need to be in the whole process. We are able to also influence. We are able also to, our voices are there and our participation is also counted. And the other issue is that as we are in homes, because we are known for staying at home, and staying at home means that everything you manage, the money you can have is going to come out of production. This production is going to be hard for us. You can't sell, you can't bargain, you can't, actually, from the farm to the market, it will be managed by someone else. But if you're in your own farm where you've done production on your own farm that you own, meaning that the whole process from the farm to the market, it will be you gearing up the process. We are also glad, we shall be happy when we see that we can manage things in that whole process. And the intervention is when you seek for help, but not someone coming in to say that you have to do this at this level. The other issue is that it will have reduced our vulnerability, because our vulnerability comes in a way that all the time we come last or we come secondary to all issues. But now we shall be priority. And our priority will be that at a greater extent, we are there. The gender-based violence and the exploitation will also have reduced, because as you speak or as you discuss issues in your home, they know you now also have the power. But if you don't have the power, because land is power, yes, and we count it to be the health, the everything, if you're not anywhere, then you're not owning anything. Then we shall also have our family status increase, because it is us who mind about the status of the family. You'll have children educated, you'll have children feeding, we shall reduce the levels of malnutrition, and also there will be, the managerial issues will be simpler, because at least the husband knows, even if he's out of the home, you can manage. But this issue of all the time waiting for the spouse to come and take decisions and do the and do what they no longer want to do, like the taking over the responsibilities in the home, because they no longer want to do it these days. So when they know that you even own land, they'll be hands off, because you'll be able to do anything. Because since you have land, you're able to do this. You can even put your chicken houses, because when you have land, you can place the chicken house anyway. If you don't have land, you have to request. So we are seeing ourselves at that stage whereby we are in ownership, we are able to do our own production, we are able to make our own decisions, because for us we begin with like, I would wish to have my pigsty there. They're like, no, the plan for that place is this. You fold.
Yeah, so I think what I hear from you is that when a woman's land rights are really secure, I have documentation in my own name, I have power to decide what I should plant on that piece of land. And I will be in control of the proceeds that come out of that land. But ideally, the issues of decision making are very important in this conversation. Because when you have your land rights secure, there's a lot that you can do without the fear that tomorrow I'm going to be evicted, or tomorrow someone is going to come and disorganize me on that land, which is, I think, a very powerful submission. So as we really bring this to a close, I just want you to share a bit of parting shots, but I start with Mr. Bo. What do you think the ministry can do to support women accelerate this issue of documentation? And how do you think that will help enable us to realize the goal of the NDP IV that we already highlighted? Just in about a minute or so.
In a minute.
Yes.
Now, documentation, what the ministry is looking at is to stop disputes, to stop conflicts related to the gender-based violence that you had mentioned, because land conflicts, most of them gender-based. So from a broader perspective, down to earth, we want to stop land conflicts, disputes, and also make sure that women are given that that empowerment to know that if she takes a decision on land, it must be respected, because that is the beginning now of empowering her to take decisions that will increase productivity on the land. So I encourage women out there, whether you have got your own money as a woman and you want to buy land, go ahead, buy it, register it in your names. Government is discouraging land fragmentation. Where women and men are in families, let us register either trusts or associations and take decisions to invest on still big pieces of land, because we are now moving towards commercial agriculture, away from the subsistence. So keeping together, working on the land together, and then sharing the benefits keeps the land more productive than going on fragmenting and subdividing it, because ultimately it will become unproductive.
Okay, thank you very much. Same to you, Christine. Just in a very short time, what would be your parting shots? What do you think women like you, small-scale farmers, can do to ensure that you're protecting this land by documenting it?
First of all, I would wish to urge fellow women to help each other in these processes, because we shall be happy when we are all at the same level. Secondly, I applaud women who have managed to own their own land and be living examples to other women that we can as women. And thirdly, I also want to applaud women who have defeated the cultural norms, the patriarchal norms, to see that at least they own land, despite the challenges that we face with these traditional issues in owning land. And then I kindly request the duty bearers, the office bearers, that please listen to the woman, defend the woman, and let them be there to offer the service. Let them not make things so hard, so lengthy, so costly, so everything, to make it harder for a woman to own land. And I also request our governments to see that all the laws, the policies, the land acts and the land acts are making the affirmative actions of inclusion and gender equality be priority as they mend all this, or as they try to revise. Let the revision be a gender revision that is going to be inclusive of the women, and the co-ownerships, whereby spouses are not the superpower, but they should agree to work with their wives. They should agree to have their wives as part of to be part of the ownership of the properties. So I thank those who are pushing the actions, who are pushing the women agendas forward, and I encourage those who are not yet in the campaign to also join the campaign of pushing the women agenda forward.
Thank you very much, my very wonderful panel. You've really shared very good insights to our listeners outside there, and it's now really an opportunity for all of us to put this into action. We already know that in Uganda we have very good laws, but the issue now is on implementing. How do we make those laws to work for the women? How do we make those laws to actively work for the vulnerable groups? And in this case, we're talking about the small-scale farmers who are really doing a lot of work, producing food that we eat, even at the smallest scale. Even in their kitchen gardens, there's a lot that comes out. So viewers outside there, thank you very much for being glued to this channel. This conversation has really showed us that when a woman's land rights are secure, when a woman has documentation to her land, there are a lot of visible changes that can happen from the household up to the national level. All those will contribute in the long run to national development, and it will help us to realize the goal of the national development but also the Vision 2040 that we're all aspiring for. So thank you so much for listening to us. I request you to join the movement, like Christina said, the movement of securing land tenure for women, because that is where our national development will be realized. So from us and the team, we call it a wrap for today, but I invite you to listen in, but also to subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESAF Uganda TV and all our social media channels that exist, so that you can be able to understand some of the other conversations that we brought on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching The Spotlight. Stay connected with ESAF Uganda as we empower small-scale farmers. Visit our website and follow us on social media for more updates.